Well, a good day to you all. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you once again this weekend and to share with you on our readings for the weekend. Remember, this entire exercise is really designed to help you prepare for Mass so that we do not find ourselves in church. The readings are being read. Sometimes we get a bit distracted. We don't pay attention. And we don't get the full benefit of God's Word. Hopefully, I can expose you to some aspect of the reading over the weekend so that we can be a bit more focused and prepared when God's Word is revealed to us during the course of the Mass. And that, of course, puts us in the right frame of mind for meeting Jesus in the Eucharist as well. Once again, a Happy New Year to you all. God bless you. I want to talk this weekend about accommodation, which I define as the ability to create space. And there are two persons in the Bible who are expert space savers. First of all, the innkeeper. When Joseph and Mary arrived in Bethlehem, we are told there was no accommodation for them. They were tired and hungry and probably a bit dirty as well. They had been refused accommodation by everyone. The Holiday Inn, the Marriott, the Hilton were all filled. There was a convention in town. But in this one place, a man was willing to squeeze them in. The Bible tells us in Luke chapter 2 verse 7, and she gave birth to her firstborn and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger because there was no place for them in the inn. There was no place. But the message of the innkeeper is that there is always room for others. There was always room for others. I want you to think about that. It might be a bit uncomfortable to accommodate people, but there is always room for others. Quite often in our lives, situations and people arise whom we had not catered for. I remember driving home a Sunday evening after doing a Thanksgiving service at someone's home. It was very rainy and overcast. It was pretty late. I was very tired and just longing to get home. And as I drove past this particular bus stop, I saw a hand just go up and come down. And I remember saying to myself, nobody, not tonight. I'm not stopping for anyone. I'm too tired. But the further I drove away from this bus stop, the more guilty I felt, until after a while I simply had to turn around and go back. When I got back to the bus stop, this elderly man on crutches literally jumped into my car. He was so grateful that someone had stopped for him, and he told me that if I had not stopped, he would have had to spend the night there under very cold and damp and wet conditions. So I took him along, and it has that story, that incident has always stuck with me when I think about accommodation, finding room for other people. It was a lesson in accommodation for me. And I always feel humbled when I hear families who accommodate special needs individuals, like the elderly and those suffering from dementia or Parkinson's, or those who have a special needs child. They understand what accommodation means. So often we exclude because we are too busy. We are afraid it would take up too much of our time and it would not be convenient. Think of the wise men in this regard. Some astrologers, they probably looked quite funny in terms of the way that they dressed. They spoke a very strange language. They even smelled funny. But this is what the Bible tells us, that going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. The reading this weekend is about these wise men. But my focus is the fact that Mary found accommodation for them at the end of their journey. And can you think about it? Some strange men turn up at your house, and yet still she knew in her heart that they were looking for her son Jesus, and she was able to accommodate them. I believe that in our own personal lives, there are always persons who need accommodation. Let this Christmas season, as we are about to enter ordinary time, be a time when we find accommodation for people, especially those that you find it most difficult to get along with. The story of the wise men, as I said, is a story of accommodation. They had traveled a great distance. It must have been disheartening at times for them, never quite sure what they would find at the end. Like us, they were searching as well. And like us, they were not quite sure of where this journey was taking them. But in the end, God promises us accommodation. He promises us rest for our souls and peace for our beings. Let us open our hearts and allow God to accommodate us, not only at Christmas time, but during the course of the year. And let us find accommodation for others as well in our lives. God bless you all.